Breaking news that just happened minutes ago has the entire sports world in absolute chaos. Caitlin Clark, the woman who saved women's basketball, the superstar who turned empty arenas into sold-out spectacles, just made an announcement on live television that nobody saw coming. And what happened next will absolutely break your heart. She's pregnant, and the moment she revealed this life-changing news, she completely broke down in tears on national TV. But here's what will make you furious. The reason she was crying wasn't tears of joy. It was because of what the WNBA and her own team did the second they found out about her pregnancy. I'm not exaggerating when I say that what you're about to hear will change how you view women's professional sports forever. This isn't just about one player's personal news. This is about a system so broken, so heartless, that it drove the biggest star in women's basketball to tears on live television while she was trying to share what should have been the happiest moment of her life. The interview started normally enough. Caitlin Clark walked into the ESPN studio looking like the confident superstar we all know and love. She was there to discuss the upcoming WNBA playoffs, her incredible rookie season with the Indiana Fever, and the unprecedented growth of women's basketball. The interviewer was going through the usual questions about her record-breaking performances, her 19.2 points per game average, and how she single-handedly increased Fever season ticket sales by 400%. But then something shifted. You could see it in her eyes, the way she took a deep breath and looked directly into the camera. Her voice started to shake as she said the words that would change everything. I have something important to share with the fans who have supported me through this incredible journey. I'm pregnant. For a moment, there was silence in the studio. The interviewer's face lit up with congratulations, clearly expecting this to be a celebration. But that's when Caitlin Clark did something that shocked everyone watching. She started crying. Not happy tears, not tears of joy. These were tears of pain, frustration, and betrayal. And what she said next will make your blood boil. Through her tears, Clark began to reveal what had been happening behind closed doors since she first shared her pregnancy news with the WNBA and the Indiana Fever organization, the same league that she had transformed from struggling to thriving. The same organization that had built their entire marketing campaign around her success had immediately started treating her like a liability instead of celebrating this milestone in her life. She explained how the first meeting after her pregnancy announcement wasn't filled with congratulations or discussions about how to support her through this journey. Instead, she was handed a stack of legal documents and medical forms. Team executives started talking about contract implications, salary reductions, and what this would mean for their championship aspirations. Not once did anyone ask how she was feeling or what she needed during this time. The tears kept flowing as Clark described how the very people who had praised her for bringing unprecedented attention to women's basketball were now viewing her pregnancy as a problem to be managed rather than a life event to be celebrated. She revealed that within 24 hours of sharing her news, team lawyers were already discussing clauses in her contract that could affect her compensation during maternity leave. But here's where the story gets absolutely disgusting. Clark explained that the WNBA's outdated policies regarding pregnant players are so archaic that they basically penalize women for starting families. While the league publicly promotes itself as being progressive and supportive of women, their actual policies tell a completely different story. Pregnant players face reduced salaries, limited medical support, and uncertain job security upon their return. The emotional breakdown continued as Clark shared how isolating this experience had become. Teammates who she thought were friends started distancing themselves, worried that her pregnancy would affect team chemistry and their playoff chances. Coaches began discussing contingency plans, as if she had suffered a career-ending injury rather than announcing she was bringing new life into the world. What made her cry even harder was realizing that her pregnancy had exposed the WNBA's true priorities. Despite all their talk about empowering women and supporting female athletes, when faced with a superstar player who wanted to balance motherhood with her career, their first instinct was to protect their investment rather than support their player. The interview took another heartbreaking turn when Clark revealed that international leagues had already reached out to her with offers that included comprehensive maternity benefits, guaranteed job security upon return, and childcare support. Teams in Europe were offering not just higher salaries, but actual family-friendly policies that the WNBA couldn't match. The contrast was so stark that it made her question everything she thought she knew about her home league. Through her tears, Clark explained how the financial reality of her situation was particularly cruel. As the WNBA's biggest draw, generating millions in revenue and television ratings, she was still earning less than $230,000 per year. Now, with a baby on the way and the league's inadequate maternity policies, she was facing potential financial hardship despite being the most valuable player in women's basketball. The crying intensified as she described the pressure she felt from all sides. Fans were expecting her to continue performing at an elite level right up until her due date. Sponsors were nervous about how her pregnancy would affect their marketing campaigns. The media was speculating about whether she would ever return to her pre-pregnancy form. Everyone had an opinion about her body, her choices, and her future. But nobody seemed to care about her well-being as a person. Clark's voice broke completely when she talked about the dream she had for combining motherhood with her basketball career. She had envisioned becoming a role model for young women who wanted to pursue professional sports without sacrificing their desire for family. Instead, she was discovering that the very league she had helped elevate was structurally incapable of supporting that vision. The most devastating moment came when she revealed that she was considering leaving the WNBA entirely. Not because she wanted to stop playing basketball, but because she refused to accept a system that viewed her pregnancy as a burden rather than celebrating it as part of her journey. European leagues were offering guaranteed contracts that would allow her to play through a safe portion of her pregnancy and return with full support. Her tears became sobs as she explained how betrayed she felt by the organization she had given everything to. She had sacrificed her body, her privacy, and her personal life to help build the WNBA into a legitimate professional sports league. And the moment she needed their support most, they treated her like a problem to be solved rather than a human being to be celebrated. The interview concluded with Clark making a statement that sent shockwaves through the sports world. Still crying, she looked directly into the camera and said that she would be taking time to evaluate all her options, including offers from international leagues that actually valued pregnant players as complete human beings rather than just basketball commodities. The immediate aftermath of this interview was explosive. Social media erupted with support for Clark and outrage at the WNBA's handling of her pregnancy. Major sponsors began questioning their partnerships with a league that couldn't properly support its biggest star during one of life's most important moments. Women's rights advocates seized on Clark's story as an example of how even supposedly progressive organizations can fail women when it matters most. But here's what makes this story even more infuriating. Clark's pregnancy should have been a celebration for women's basketball. Here was proof that female athletes could be complete human beings with rich personal lives beyond sports. Instead, the league's backwards policies and corporate priorities turned what should have been joyful news into a tearful confession of systemic betrayal. The broader implications of Clark's emotional breakdown extend far beyond one player's experience. This moment exposed fundamental flaws in how women's professional sports operate. Despite decades of progress, female athletes are still expected to choose between their careers and their personal lives in ways that male athletes never face. International Observers were quick to point out that European leagues had already solved many of these issues. Players routinely balance motherhood with professional careers, supported by comprehensive policies that view pregnancy as a normal part of life rather than a career obstacle. The fact that American leagues lagged so far behind was embarrassing. On a global scale, the financial implications are equally staggering. Clark's potential departure wouldn't just cost the WNBA their biggest star, it would signal to current and future players that the league couldn't be trusted to support them through major life events. The ripple effects could undermine decades of progress in women's professional sports. As we watched Caitlin Clark cry on live television, we weren't just witnessing one woman's emotional moment. We were seeing the human cost of systemic failures that prioritize profits over people, performance over well-being, and corporate interests over human dignity. The question now is whether the WNBA will learn from this devastating moment and implement real changes, or whether they'll watch their biggest star take her talents elsewhere, because they couldn't see past their own outdated policies to support the complete human being who had given them everything, whatever happens next. That image of Caitlin Clark crying while announcing her pregnancy will remain a defining moment in women's sports. History, not for the joy it should have represented, but for the betrayal it exposed.